Hey guys, Darren here. Welcome to Mayhem Country Living. Hope you guys are doing well wherever it is that you are. I have a question. This is an interesting thought project for you guys. So there will be homework. My wife and I were in Walmart the other day, and yesterday, and we were talking about looking at stuff in the garden section, and she said, "Do you know that woman there who does the garden stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, she's a very nice lady." And she said, "Yes, she is." She said, "Do you know that she's homeless?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "She sleeps in her car most nights and works here at Walmart," which that is a whole different video. But she said yes. And because she kind of knows the lady, and the lady had mentioned that she sleeps in her car. And, but it's called working poor, the working poor, I believe, something like that. And so she had said that she sleeps in her car most nights. And that got me to thinking, we do have weather changes coming in. We're going into fall now, so the temperatures have been cooling off and everything. Now, could you sleep in your car? I have, work purposes, getting to a job site, slept in it for a night or 18 hours, something like that. I was getting paid to do it though, so that's completely different. But could you do it? Could you sleep, cook, eat, poop, bathe, do the normal things that you do? And I got to thinking, if that was the case for me, especially in these cooler temperatures, I would probably get me a $30 tent at Walmart and find me a spot. Now that's just me. I'm a guy, so it's completely different for a guy as opposed to a woman. At one point in my life, I was quasi-homeless, and I slept in a state park for about a month or so. And it was different, but I had a pup tent, one of them little narrow A-frames that I would squeeze into. I had a bath and shower, and restrooms and all that stuff. And what would you do? What kind of skills do you have? Obviously, well, try to stay at a friend or a family's house. Well, what if you didn't have that? So, my whole premise to this is, well, what would you do? Like I said, myself, if I had the money, let's say you got $100. Obviously, that won't pay for a hotel room, or maybe one night, maybe 2 nights, depending how nasty the hotel was. And what would you do? So, myself, I'd get the cheap tent and go back in the woods. And I was thinking, because there's a nice big overgrown wooded lot behind the Walmart that we shop at, and I told my wife, I said I would take an indirect route up into those woods, and I would pop a tent, and and that's where I would do if I worked at that location. Now, just an interesting scenario, but there are still people like they're out today, and I'm not talking about like the homeless, the career homeless, the mentally ill, but these are, again, what they consider the working poor. What would you do? Sleep in your car? Well, if the weather was cool enough, boy, I'd hate to sleep in my car in the hot weather. That would just be terrible. But that is my question, my premise of this whole video. What would you do? If nobody would take you in, what would you do? Where would you go? Anyway, food for thought, let's say. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of you people.